Most leaders struggle to get their team's full attention in meetings, and it comes down to one thing: commanding respect fast. So I'm going to show you exactly how to present and the one story that ties it all together. First, let me stop you doing the three things that are currently wrecking your authority. Okay, there's one meeting opener that quietly drains your authority, but most leaders think it does the exact opposite. It sounds like, before we get into it, let me give you some background. You say it to prove that you've done the work, to be thorough, to avoid surprises. But the moment you explain first, the room takes you less seriously. You walk them through how you got here, the data, the backstory. And while you talk, something subtle happens. They're not following you, they're waiting you out. And think about it, if a report did that to you, you jump in and go, okay, listen, what's the point? That backstory puts people in orientation mode. They're trying to figure out, where is this going, not what to do next. Lead with the direction, state the decision, the ask, or the headline first. Then only give the context if that supports it. Leaders don't earn respect by explaining first, they earn it by setting direction and then backing it up. Okay, I once lost respect for someone I admired, not because of what they did, but because of what they brought into the room. It taught me that when your energy doesn't match the moment, people unconsciously downgrade you. Authority needs visible belief. So here's what happened. I went to see a well-known magician in a huge room, like a 3,000 seat theater. It was a really big name and with years of credibility and someone that I really looked up to. But there were maybe only 200 people in the audience. That's it. And I'm sure it would be disappointing to have such a big room with such a small audience. But I was a budding performer, and I was excited to see them in full flight, and I paid for my very expensive ticket out of my own pocket. The magician walked on stage and you could feel it. There was low energy, flat presence. It was disconnected. Before the first trick even finished, something shifted inside me. I stopped seeing them as a star. Nothing about their skill had changed. The tricks were still good, but the energy didn't match the moment and my perception flipped. Now that's exactly what happens in meetings. If your energy doesn't fit the stakes, the room quietly downgrades you. Not because you're wrong, but because leadership looks like conviction. In a moment, we'll dig into how to tell the story that commands respect quickly. But first, there is one more authority killer to watch out for. There's a moment in meetings where leaders mistake head nods for respect. That's when authority starts leaking out of the room. Nods feel like alignment, but they're mostly silence and courtesy. The minute you optimize for agreement, respect starts to slip. And you've probably felt this before. You present an idea and people nod. No one pushes back. The room feels agreeable. So you got to keep the energy going and you soften the language a little bit and say something like, does that make sense? Everyone comfortable with that? Any concerns before we move on? It feels smooth, like alignment, but you're getting compliance, not commitment. Agreement is passive. Alignment is active. When you chase nods, you're asking people to like the idea, not carry it. The room senses that and then walks out without any real traction. No clarity on what matters most. No shared story that they're operating inside of. No clear next step accountabilities. Respect drains quietly, not because the idea was wrong, but because leadership never fully claimed it. So claim it. Align the room around one clear story and direction that everyone can move inside. Leaders don't earn respect by getting everyone to agree. They earn it by driving alignment into commitments people will carry. All three of these failures come down to the same problem. The room is being asked to juggle multiple stories instead of being led inside of one. So let me show you how to do that. To get to the one story, there are three different ones that overlap, like a Venn diagram. The first is the leader's story. The leader walks in with a story, your insight, your perspective, your recommendation. It's the one thing that you care about most. It's the one thing that makes sense to you. And that's what you've been thinking about. And that's what you believe should happen next. But when that's the only story, the room doesn't hear leadership, they hear advocacy. Advocacy sounds like, here's what I think, not here's where we're going. So on its own, the leader's story feels personal, convincing maybe, but it's not commanding. And it's vital to develop your own story because without it, you just sound like a talking head, but there's other parts to it. The second is the listener's story, because at the same time, everyone in the room is running their own story in their own heads. What does this mean for me? And this isn't selfish, it's really practical. What am I accountable for? What risk does this create for me? What changes does this mean for me after the meeting? What does this mean for me and my dreams? If that story isn't addressed, attention drops, even if people are nodding. Without relevance to them, there's no ownership, and without ownership, there's no action. So if you never connect your message to their reality, respect becomes conditional. And then there's the third story, that's the organization story, because the third story provides the context for the moment. The organization story, strategy, timing, constraints, politics, and what's actually mattering right now to the organization. When a leader speaks without anchoring to it, people hesitate and ask, okay, does this fit where we're really going? If the answer isn't obvious, respect pauses. Most leaders tell all three stories, just not at the same time. They jump between them. They touch on each one, but they never bring them together. The moment the room has to connect those dots themselves, leadership weakens. Authority isn't just about having all of those pieces, but it's about assembling them in front of the room and showing them where the center is. Leaders who command respect fast don't speak louder. They collapse all three of these stories into one. They find that common ground. The leader's perspective, the listener's reality, and the organization's direction. Not told separately, not implied, but unified into that central story. Okay, so the secret behind this idea comes from show business. It's how you build moments on stage that actually land. In meetings, respect leaks when three things aren't aligned. The leader, which is like the performer, the initiative or organization's attention, which is like the show, and the team, which is like the audience with their own pressures and context. When they're out of sync, people don't push back, they disengage. Silence looks like agreement and nodding, but it's actually disconnection. It'd be like an audience not applauding and getting what you're doing. When you're creating a moment, three things always matter in show business: the performer, the show, and the audience. You can't ignore any of them. For example, you wouldn't do slapstick at a Memorial Day event. Not because slapstick is bad, but because it violates the moment. The performer might be great, the bit might be tight, but the audience is in a different emotional and contextual space. The mismatch breaks the moment. Show business works when all three line up at once. It's the same in leadership. Respect shows up when your conviction is clear, the direction fits the organization, and the story makes sense for the people in the room. That overlap, that center, if you miss it, no amount of polish is going to save you. You don't need templates and decks. You got to do what great performers do. Before you speak, decide three things. What kind of moment is this? What must this audience feel clear about when it's over? And what direction am I willing to stand behind? Not options, but what position will I lead to? When all three of those things align, the story writes itself and the room feels it immediately. Respect isn't built slide by slide, it's recognized when the moment feels intentional. When the leader knows who they are in the room, what this moment is really about, and what story everyone is being invited into, that's when teams stop waiting and start moving. So the next time you prep a meeting, don't ask, how do I better explain this? Ask, have I constructed the moment? Or am I just hoping it lands? Now, a great place to start constructing the moment is by looking at 4 rules that will give you instant authority. It's a simple framework, but it'll turn on the lights and make all of this so much easier. Watch that next.